again with you, baby, tonight. I don't wanna love, I don't wanna fight. I don't wanna have to tell you all the things I know. I don't wanna stay, but I don't wanna go. I don't wanna be the lover in your arms. I don't wanna be one to keep you from home. I don't wanna be the crooked person in your heart. I don't wanna stop, but I don't wanna stop. Part-time love, how we suffer now. And I don't wanna waste no more of your precious time. I don't wanna say that everything will be fine. I don't wanna feel your tears on my skin. I'm a coward, baby, don't let me in. Part-time love, how we suffer now. So I don't wanna sit in again with you, baby, tonight. I don't wanna love, I don't wanna fight. I don't wanna have to tell you all the things I know. I don't wanna stay, but I don't wanna go. I am a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of war. There is no sickness, toil nor danger in that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my mother. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over thirsty, but golden fields stretch out before me, where weary eyes no more will weep. I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just going over home. I'm going there to see my brother. He said he'd meet me when I come. Hush, little darling, don't say a word. I'm gonna buy you a mockingbird. Say, darling, say. And if that mockingbird don't sing, I'm gonna buy you a diamond ring. Yes, and I know that diamond ring. Yes, I know that diamond ring is gonna shine. Darling, if you'll marry me, I'll buy you a house with a big oak tree. Say, darling, say, we'll live in the house with the big oak tree. 3 little babies on your knee. Yes, and I know that diamond ring. Yes, I know that diamond ring is gonna shine. So hush, little darling, don't say a word. I'm gonna buy you a mockingbird.
Good day. This is Summers United. We are working for Quotations. We're working on the New York project. This episode we're working on is kind of the working title. Well, not working title. This section is just walking around Manhattan at night. So it's a bunch of night photography videos and photography. And as you can see here, this is these are all, everything in purple is photographs that we're going to have to go through and animate. But before we can begin the animation process, we have to get the edit down to be well, essentially to lock down the edit, and then once that's done, then we can start animating the photos. And the reason why I have to wait till all the videos are cut to the right length is because it's really difficult to shift the animations once they're applied to the photos, and so I'd prefer not to do that. So that's why I edit the videos first and then do the photographs. So let's get started. Start off over here. And you know what? I am going to get rid of the sound. Okay, now we're really going to get to work. And it's really cold. This is in January. I was like, and this is handheld. I don't want to have it too long, so I don't want the audience to suffer through that. But so today I did a lot, but didn't do everything I was supposed to do. I woke up late, which was okay. I had nothing really to do in the morning, but we were expecting a package to come. It's one of those umbrellas for your garden or patio, and they said they would deliver it sometime between 8 in the morning or 8 at night. So we really had no idea when they were coming, but I woke up at 11:30, and they still weren't here. And so then they did call at about 12, and they brought it, which was good because we needed to wait for them to come before we could start doing our errands. So then I hopped in the shower real quick and tried to get, while my mom was getting my grandmother ready. And so it took a little too long. What should have taken like 15 minutes ended up taking like 40 minutes. So we left the house too late to do our first errand. The first thing we wanted to do was go to it's not a John Deere store. It's like what's it called? It's like Tractor Supply. It's an outlet that we get our John Deere from, and they have like all the other brands for gardening and everything. And so we were supposed to pick up our new weed whacker today in the morning, which is technically yesterday, Thursday, but we left so late that I had a doctor's appointment, so we didn't have time to go pick up the weed whacker and then go to the doctor's appointment because they're at opposite ends. The doctor's appointment is like an hour and 20 minutes away, and then the weed whacker is 30 minutes away in the opposite direction. So it was okay. So we ended up just going to the doctor's office, and we just got there early, so that was nice and not full of stress. Because usually we're running late, and then there's traffic and everything. But so then our plan was we're gonna go to the store after, because we already paid for it, and we just have to pick it up. And today's supposed to be the last day of sun, so to speak. Tomorrow and the next day, essentially till Tuesday, we're having thunderstorm and rain. And so there was a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to get done with the yard and everything today, which is why I needed the weed whacker. But we drove up, so coming from the doctor's office, we drove up, and we had an extra hour. We left the doctor's office at like 2:45, and so it would have only taken us an hour and a half to get there. So let's say that's 3. We would have got there at 4:30, and then there was traffic jam after traffic jam after traffic jam. So we did not get to the store till exactly 5:03. So we were 3 minutes late, and that store was, it was closed. Everyone was gone. All the cars were gone, and they closed at 5. And so I was like, I was hoping maybe there was somebody who, they had a customer or something, but they did not. So we have to go back tomorrow And so we're going to try and beat the rain, and then I can do a little bit of yard work before it rains. It's not supposed to rain till 1 or 2 p.m. So that's not a lot of time to do everything. And usually they're like, oh, it might rain, but this time they're saying like, it's going to be raining for the next 3 days. Let's save this real quick. And so then the other thing I wanted to do in the morning was I rebuilt this Steadicam, this glide cam contraption. What a glide cam does is it allows you to walk with the camera. And this is a good example to talk about it. So there's no stabilization. I'm handheld holding this video, and as you can see with each, walking from one leg to the other, there's like a high degree of bounce. So what a glide cam does, will actually smooth it out, so you can rotate your hand whichever way you want, but the camera will stay level and looking in one direction. And that will reduce the amount of like shaking like this one from side to side. So how it the kind of old-fashioned way is, and this is the way I'm using, is you use, essentially it's like it's kind of like I'm trying to think of the right word. It's like if you had a hinge and you have 2 sets of hinges, and so one set the camera can rotate left or right, and then the other set the camera can go forward or back, and so then they're kind of interconnected, so that you're holding the outside, and so the camera is just floating there, and so it can rotate forward and back and left and right freely. And then at the bottom of the camera there's a pole that goes down, and at the bottom of the pole there's a weight, and so it's like you're constantly balanced. The weight is constantly keeping the camera balanced. So that's what the glide cam does, and you can get one for relatively cheaply for like $50 or so. It really depends on what size of camera you want to attach to it, but I'm like, no, I'm not gonna pay $50 or whatever. Like, I could save that and buy a hard drive or something else, and I have to buy a lot more hard drives for this summer, so I'm trying to like save as much as I can. But so I built a glide cam that attaches to a shoulder mount, so you just put it on your shoulders, and then you kind of hold the grip, and so most of the weight is on your shoulder, and so your arms can really focus on either holding the kind of the pole that centers everything, or just aiming the camera. And so the version I had before that, instead of having a hinge, I used like really tight string, so it could bend forward and back and then left to right independent of each other. But when I tested it out, there was, even though the string was so tight, like any amount of bouncing, and there's like a lot of bounce when you take a step and transition from left foot to right foot, and there's even more for me because I'm flat-footed, so it's like it's a little bit difficult to walk, and especially smoothly. I mean, there are ways I can do it. Essentially, I have to walk as though I am wearing high heels, and just put the weight on my toes, and just don't put any weight on my heel, which looks weird, especially when like you're not in shoes that actually have heels. But it's essentially tiptoeing, and so when you're not walking that way, the string method would bounce the camera up and down and would add extra motion, but it did smooth down, like tilt and pan, and it adds interesting effect where this is the glide cam in general. It adds an effect of just floating through places, kind of like you're almost like a ghost just flying through. That's why they call it the glide cam or the steady cam. And anyway, so I was like, I have to rebuild this to be better, because like you can get smooth shots, but you have to really focus on how you walk. You have to kind of hold the camera a little bit so it doesn't shake. And so I was like, there has to be an easier way so that I can just go to a location and running gun, which is just shoot as much as possible and have like most of it come out good. And that with the string method, it was really difficult to work with. So yesterday I went and I found some extra PVC connectors, and I was able to do the same thing with the string, but I was able to do it with PVC. So I had large PVC connectors, and so I would put a smaller tube in between them so it could just rotate, just like a ball bearing, but without with the tubes were actually the bearing. And so then I did that for the inside, for left to right rotation, and then for forward and back. And I tested it out today. I wanted to test it out this morning, but like I said, I ran out of time. So I tested it out at 7:30 p.m. and it worked really well. I looked at the 4K footage in 30 frames per second, and it was pretty good. I intentionally did not try to walk like smoothly. I wanted to see what the footage would look like just walking naturally, and it was surprisingly good. There is a little bit of shake, and again, it's my fault. Again, being flat-footed and kind of the shoes I was wearing, and I have a little bit of a limp, and I wasn't trying to hide it. So that kind of added to the shakiness. But I did do another test. I tested a whole bunch of formats. I did 2 tests. I did walking normally, and then I did walking as slow as I could, and then tomorrow I'm gonna try one walking as slow and as smoothly. And I did that on purpose. I just want to see if it's something as easy as just walking slowly. I don't want to have to put all this energy into trying to walk smoothly. So I'm really just kind of trying to be scientific about it and find the most comfortable way to get as much footage as possible and as quickly as possible. But let's say I rebuilt it, and then walking slower helped a little bit. I mean, it helped out a lot. But the other formats, so I did 2 tests, but there were 3 formats I had to test. So I had to do the same thing 6 times, and I just walked around the backyard in the same path, and I thought my dog was coming to see me. She's just going upstairs. But so I had to walk the same path 6 times so I could do an accurate comparison. And so I did 4K at 30 frames per second, 2.7K at 60 frames per second, and HD 1080p at 120 frames per second. And so the one I like the most is, the one I want to really work is the 4K version. And I have a program that will help smooth out some of the motion by slowing down the footage. And it doesn't just do frame doubling, it actually does frame I can't say it. frame extrapolation, where it will, so if you have 2 frames in a video, when the video plays, it shows the first frame, then the second frame. With the, I still can't say it, kind of the anyway, so what it does is, instead of playing the 1 frame and then the second frame, it will slow it down by making it 3 frames. So it will show the first frame, and then it will show a blend of the first frame and the second frame, and then it will show the third frame. So that slows down the video, and it adds an intermediary frame that kind of helps preserve the motion, so it's not as it doesn't look like a slow slideshow. It looks like the motion is smooth, even though it's technically just a slowed down video. It's a way to make videos look like they were shot in slow motion when really they weren't. So the comfortable amount to do is like to do half the speed. And so if you're taking a minute long video with half the speed, you make it 2 minutes long, and if you slow down, you can do it like slow things down by like 4 times slower. So then a 1 minute video would be, instead of being 2 minutes, it would be 4 minutes. But that kind of gets to be a little too much motion blur. So I'm going to test out that program that I wrote to see if the 4K footage at 30 frames could be used. And but the one that I know looks good is the 2.7K at 60 frames per second. So before I started, I made several video projects, and it's slowing down the standard way. So if it was 60 frames per second, it's gonna play it as 30 frames. So that just means instead of playing 60 frames per second, it's gonna slow it down to a rate of 30 times, which is half speed. So the video is actually twice as long. So even though I recorded 3 minutes of footage, it's gonna play it as 6 minutes at 30 frames per second. And so that one I'm pretty sure that slowdown will be okay. When I tried the Steadicam with the string method, the only one that really looked good was the 1080p at 120 frames per second. But with this new rebuild, the 30 frames looks good, but the 60 frames I think is going to look better. And in terms of image quality, the 2.7K looks almost just as good as the 4K when it's downscaled to HD. So like I said, I would like to do the simulated slow-mo with the 4K footage, but I'm completely okay with the 2.7K, which is like, that's good to know. I just want to have more options. And yeah, I should start working on the next project. And it's going to be more Project Parks episodes. I have to work really quickly because summer is almost over. July is virtually over, and yeah, August is gonna go by fast. Not a lot of these need edits. They're so short that And this was really cold while filming it. It was like it was under 30 degrees. That's why just the videos were taken in the middle of January. No, the beginning of January. I have to say, so that's kind of been my day. I got the power supply. I had a lot of spare parts, and so over the weekend I assembled a kind of low-end Linux box. It has 3 cores, and right now it has 2 gigs of RAM, and it's running Ubuntu 64-bit version. And then the old power supply would work half the time, but then I would leave it running overnight to make sure it was kind of like the stress test. It was the first part. I was going to see if it could idle, and then if it could, I was going to start giving it renders to work on. But every night it failed the stress test. There would be a power surge, and so I was like, this power supply just isn't safe. So I ordered a new one, and it's by Thermaltake, and I really trust them. My first experience with them was I usually buy like $30 or $40 cases, but I bought a more higher end case. It was like $120, and I needed something with a lot of drive bays and everything. So, and it came with the case was a Thermaltake case, but it also came with a power supply, and that power supply lasted forever. I used the PC for, it was probably rendering 24/7 at like maximum kind of power draw. It had 2 graphics cards running in Crossfire, and so the power requirements for this thing were just through the roof, and it lasted for like 5 years. So my mistake was that when it died, I didn't get the same kind of power supply. I went with kind of a knockoff brand, and that one lasted for like a year and a half, and then I got another knockoff, and I should have just stayed with them. But now I'm back. So far I've ordered 2 of them, 2 power supplies, one before and then one now. And so the Linux box is working pretty well. It was giving me a little bit of a hard time, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I was like, is it the RAM module? Because the motherboard is a little bit fried, and so one RAM slot doesn't work, and then some of the RAM I'm using is also not functional, and so I had to figure out if it was the RAM stick or if it was like the slot didn't work, and ended up being the processor was kind of a little bit loose, so I kind of took it out and put it back in, and like it took me forever to figure it out, but luckily I did, and it's up and running. It's running right behind me, and If you hear the extra noise, that's what it is. And then the other noise is I have a fan across the room, so that's kind of why there's a room tone noise. It's a little bit obnoxious. But the fan it's not for me, it's for the computers. Because if there is no fan, then it gets hot in the room. Okay, I kind of wanted to do 3 episodes tonight, but I don't think I'll be able to do that. I might be able to do it if this next episode is short. Okay. So this next one is 17 minutes. I'll show you guys. You people. So there's like not a lot we have to do. It's like mostly photographs, and it's not that long. So we should be able to do a third one after this. Yeah, and this one should go by really quickly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a speed control. And we're going to do a speed factor of like 15. Let's try 30. Now I'm going frame by frame. Okay. This was probably the most complicated thing we had to edit. I don't think it's going to be able to play it in real time. Yeah, it's only doing 4 frames per second. But everything is actually really sped up. It's sped up 30 times faster than real time. So our first clip is okay. It's a little short, but and I think a lot of these clips will be able to keep pretty close to their original length. And this is in the Met in Manhattan. I just look at the image as long as I can. And if I can still look around and see new things, as I'm watching, then I know it's like okay to still watch. But if you see everything and it's just like nothing interesting comes out, then that's when I cut the frame. So a lot of these could actually be longer. Or if there's like shaky cam, which there is right here. Nobody needs to see that. So we're done with that video. And essentially, we're more than halfway done. So, and this is a theater in Broadway. I just filmed when people were going to their seats and when they were leaving. Again, these clips are so short that I wish most of them were longer, so they're not going to be cut down. Okay, we're done. Save this. And we're going to clean it up a little bit. So now it's 13 minutes. It was like 17 minutes before. And the reason is for the sped up clip. So I will be setting up the next project. And this is the last project of the night. And I think this is the last one we have to do for the 4K version. And then tomorrow during the day I will be creating the title sequence for the New York project, the 4K one. And then we can start animating all the photography. That's good. So I'm going to take a short break and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Earlier in the late afternoon, I drank a cup of coffee. It was like at 7 p.m. and I was like, is this a mistake? I was just so tired and I had like a lot to do. And it didn't wake me up at all. It just made me extremely thirsty. I was like so dehydrated after drinking it. I was like, ugh. And it still hasn't really helped. I think it's gonna wake me up just enough to where I can't sleep. I don't know. I'd imagine I have more energy. And again, these clips are so short that they might not have to be cut down. This one does. So I don't like the order that this is in. So it will shift all this so we can get it back in there. And then I'll sandwich the frames later. Yeah, I thought for sure we'll be streaming till 3 or 4 in the morning, but I'm tired, so this will definitely be the last episode. And I think this is actually the last episode we have to do for the 4K episodes that are mixed with video. There's a whole nother section that we have to do of 4K for just animated photography. But that's mostly about the driving through Manhattan and everything. So that one will be a little bit easier to set up. Sorting is going to take the longest, but once everything's sorted, then we just divide it into episodes, and yeah, so that should be good. It might be another, I don't know, it's hard to say. It's probably going to be another 15 to 20 episodes and of 4K content. But again, there's going to be no video, which was kind of the longest part in editing these first episodes. And then after we do that second set of 4K episodes, we have the 3D video and some 3D photos, and then which will be combined. And then we have the VR additions to do. There's a way I can calculate how many VR versions we have. So it's like so there's like enough content in VR, enough good content selected that there can be 25 episodes of VR from around New York City. That's kind of what I was calculating. And each episode would be 20 minutes. And I'm playing with the idea of me not doing the voiceover for this. We'll see. If things start getting better financially, I would hold an audition and then get somebody else to do the voiceover. Somebody with a better voice than me. And part of that is because it's really difficult to hear yourself talk. It's even more difficult to edit yourself talking. So it's difficult to do live to tape and Project Newfoundland. It just gets weird. And then you start critiquing everything you say, and you realize how weird you sound and different accents you make. And like mine's really strange. Mine's a Mexican German accent. And so I've always been kind of self-conscious with how I talk. So I don't know, it's kind of an idea. The nice thing about me doing voiceover, and the only nice thing about doing voiceover, is that I don't have to pay myself. But that's kind of the last feature there is. So we'll see. If I start making a lot of bucks, then it's definitely something I'll entertain and look into. And it's gonna be like a lot of episodes. I mean, there's gonna be over 40 episodes for this project. Like I said, we might be editing the New York project till like October. Like I know there's no way we're gonna get through August. We're gonna get it done before the end of August. And that's with doing these extra streams. The streams twice a day, including weekends. Again, not a lot of these need to be cut down. Most of them I wish were a little bit longer. But this one we do need to cut down. It starts to get a little too shaky. And this one starts out shaky. This one I don't want to cut down so short, but I think we're gonna have to. I'm adding some camera motion here. Not so stationary. All of this is handheld. But oh, I see what I'm doing. I'm tracking this train. So we have a long way to go, but it's easy work. Tomorrow, I'll probably start streaming sometime between 2 and 4 p.m. It's supposed to rain and thunderstorm, so I'm not going to get to work outside as much as I want to. But it's supposed to start raining around 1. So by the time everything gets settled down and I get back, I should be able to start sometime between 2 and 4. And then I'm doing 2 streams again, so it'll be the afternoon stream and then the late night stream. And again, we'll be working on the Project Park stuff. And hopefully I have those title sequences done, and then we can start animating the photographs, which is going to take a long time. Oh man, there was something I needed to do after I got offline. I don't remember what it was. And I knew I would forget. I knew it. But it's kind of a bummer. This is like unnecessarily long. The one in the background. And some of this just works fine by itself. So now we got to the section where it's like going to be all train moving. And so trains coming at us, metro's going away from us, all that stuff. double train. One going far and one close up to the camera. And you gotta pay a lot of bucks for that. So we went from the subway, and then this is the Long Island Railroad. This train just goes on and on forever. So we're almost done. Yes, I'm doing a creative stream tomorrow, sometime between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And then another one at night, sometime between 10 and 10 p.m. and 1 in the morning. Another late night stream. I gotta finish this 4K stuff. So we're almost done. Now we just have the riding in the train. And it's interesting going to this. So there's that blue light. And then it gets so dark that you see just the reflection of the inside of the metro or the subway. Okay, so we're done. Which is why I'm saving like crazy. Okay, so I have a couple of other things I have to do tonight, even though it's 2 in the morning, 2:20 in the morning. I have to set things to render, and yeah, I think I remember that thing I told myself I had to do, and hopefully that's it. But I want to thank everyone for coming out. I'm streaming again tomorrow around 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern time, and then again sometime between 10 and sometime between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. So afternoon stream, and then another late night stream. So thanks for coming by. See everyone tomorrow.